can't do that because I can't step out on faith like that because I can't do that financially because I don't own that thing yet. And even though I'm believing for increase to God, it hadn't come yet, so there's no way that I can do that. If he would have had the attitude that he had to wait for the right person and the right place and the right time to really use what God gave him to do, he would have missed his moment. But because he was so willing to say, God, because you've given it to me, I will use it wherever I'm at. I'll use it when I'm on the bottom before I ever get to the top. That's a lesson to somebody that you just need to open up yourself and raise those spiritual antennas and download this email to your spirit and wake up and smell the coffee and come to your senses, that you don't have to wait for everything to get better to praise God. You don't have to wait for your life to get put back together and your husband to come back around and your kids to snap back. You don't have to wait for everything to get in the place you think it should to be used by God. If you could ever wake up and realize that in the midst of the darkest hours, in the time that you're most bound, is the time that you're most available to God, is the time that you can be used the most by God. And if you would stop looking for the right person to use it on and stop looking for extra benefits and stop looking for deals that come your way because you did this for that person or for this person, and just realize that God put it in you to be used to be a blessing to man, and no matter what man comes my way, I'm going to be a blessing to them. Stuff will start happening in your life. I'm trying to talk about favor. I'm just about to get there. Because one thing that you have to understand is you've got to be willing to use your favor everywhere. Yes. Everywhere. Anywhere and everywhere. You want to know why favor doesn't come? Because when God tells you to step in line and pay for that person's groceries behind you, you say, God, there's no way I can do that. He's just trying to get you to use your gift. What is the gift? Does anybody just have any faith? Everybody's got a measure of faith. Everybody's got something, and I'll go ahead and prerequisite this. Everyone's measure is different, in case you didn't know that. But some of you might have a big measure, you might have a small measure, but everyone has just a little bit of faith. And if you can use that anywhere and realize that you don't have to wait till you're a millionaire to try to be a blessing to somebody, but you can use what you've got right now. If it's $2 in your pocket and God says give $1 to somebody else, go ahead and wave at me. I'll give you $1 before you leave and give it back to you. Make sure you don't go home broke anyway. I'm just trying to get you to understand. If you could ever just say, God, use me where I am right now, you'd be dangerous. Because it was Joseph's ability to be used when he didn't realize he could be used. That what happened is when the butler and the baker got out of prison, they told Pharaoh he got free advertisement. Why? Did he really think the butler and the baker, they were locked up for reasons that they should have been put to death to. So he was trying to help people that had no future. Oh my God, I just got to quit right there. He was helping people that had no future whatsoever. In other words, he was doing things for people knowing there was no way they could ever do anything back for him. And because he was willing to do it for people that had no future, it gave him one. And when they got out of prison, they gave him free advertisement and overnight took him from the prison to the palace. Because he was willing to use what God had given him, and he found favor in the sight of the king. Why? Because he used what he had even when he didn't realize where he was using it. It really wasn't the place he should have used it. Well, even though it didn't make sense in the natural, even though that things didn't line up, and even though that he thought that he might be trying to just help someone next to him, he had no clue what he was unlocking for his life. It was the favor, and it came because he used what he had where he was. You want me to tell you how to find favor? Use what you got right now. Amen. Use what you got. So you want to help somebody out and do something great for them. That's great, but you don't have to go to school to do it. You can still go to school and do what you need to do and get the degree or whatever you need to do and then do it. But guess what? You can do it along the course of the way. You can start it right now. You don't have to wait for 5 or 10 years till you come into something or till you work yourself up to a place. You can do it right now. Favor is unlocked to people that understand now is the time. Not tomorrow, not even the next week, but right now. Because if you're not careful, you'll spend all your time waiting on tomorrow. And days will turn into months and weeks and years. And before you know it, your life has passed you by and you've done nothing with it. Why? Because you didn't take advantage of right now. How do we find favor? We jump in right now. We don't wait. We use what we have right now. Right now. Somebody say right now. Just as a footnote, and let's see what time it is. I'm going to have to almost turn some lights on or something here. Okay. We're talking about right now, right? It said that whenever he got the call and found favor in the sight of the king, what happened? It said he went and he shaved himself and he changed his clothes. This is important. He shaved himself and he changed his clothes. What did he do? He stopped looking like the environment he had been in and prepared himself for the environment he was going to. I just got to dwell on that just a minute. if I just give this to you and we quit, that would be enough. Because many of you sabotage your future because you're so caught up in where you've been that when you get where you need to be, you don't fit in. He shaved himself and changed his clothes. He shaved him. Let me just tell it to you like this. Even though Joseph was an inmate, he realized even though he'd been locked up, he couldn't allow where he'd been to affect his future. So he had to change himself into something that looked different than where he had been. I'm not talking about forgetting where you came from, forgetting what God did for you. I'm not talking about being a sellout and doing all those things. But I've seen so many people that are so locked up in what had happened to them that whenever they finally get to the place where they could get free from that, they can't really get free because they spend all their time looking behind them and they're trying to walk like this right here. And if I keep doing this, I'm going to fall off these steps. Because they spend all their time trying to dwell on where they've been and not where they're going. Yes. And it amazes me how many people. I had someone that we used to go to church with, that we pastored, that told me a quick story, and I'll tell it to you. About someone who had grown up very minimal in life, and they didn't really come from a good background, didn't have family to support them, and they came from a broken home and had several different marriages, and even went into foster care, had all kinds of things happening from them. But they pulled themselves up by their own proverbial bootstraps, as you would say, in a sense, and went back to school and got their GED, and went to college, and got a business administration degree. And this lady that I'm talking to was telling me the story because she got a phone call from this girl to come and work for her, and she came to and had an interview with her, and this is the story she told me. She said she was educated. She knew mathematics and everything. She knew all the linguist terms, and she knew how to do shorthand and type and do all that kind of. She could do everything that was necessary to fulfill the obligations of the job. But she said, I could not give her the job because even though she had the skills and was gifted, she showed up to the place of business halfway dressed. Her clothes hadn't been ironed. Her hair was a mess. And she said, I even could have overlooked the appearance, even though it wasn't professional. But she said, the thing that got me was the fact that even though she had been educated in the natural, her mind was still locked up in that broken home, feeling worthless, feeling down and out. And every person, and it was for a job to be a receptionist, she said every person that she would talk to, she found herself speaking as if she was still that person and not the person she had become. And she said, I could not give the job to her, even though she was talented and gifted and could have done what was necessary. I could not give that to her because what happened was every customer she talked to, she would drive away because she had never been internally healed, and she was still dressed as that broken little girl and was left on the steps with no shoes one day, and she didn't even realize it, but that was bleeding into her future. And what happened is that she became a liability, and because of that, I had to let her go. Think of it. Here was someone that was educated and had the skills and had tried to make herself better, but could not fulfill the role that she needed to fulfill because she spent all of her time dressed up like what she grew up in. Yes. It's important to understand that you can have favor and be gifted. And favor will take you to the king, but your character will keep you there. And it doesn't matter. You can have favor and get the job interview. You can have favor and get the promotion. But you won't keep the promotion and you won't get the job unless you understand. You've got to change and understand that where you've been does not determine where you're going. David was a man that had killed lions and killed bears as a child. He killed giants in his youth. He was anointed king early. Great things happened. Great things. But then at the same time, he also was caught up and extremely tempered. He had a horrible temper. He was extremely lustful. Everything he saw, he wanted. He did extremely good. He wrote psalms and made instruments and did extremely great things. But guess what? He also murdered and did extremely evil things. And it teaches us in this story of Pharaoh, they had 7 years of plenty coming, but 7 years of famine. It teaches me that God does balance with everything. And this is not a popular message, so I'll give it to you, then you can go home. Balance. Somebody say balance. Balance is a very tough thing. Even the stars in the ocean have balance. Balance. David was a man that had extremely high highs, but it's called balance, and he had extremely low lows. Joseph